Today we're going to talk about your options for your project involving a personal, figurative boundary that you have overcome. So I'm going to be addressing both options, sort of flipping back and forth. Number one, that theme, the personal, figurative boundary that you've overcome, is not optional. No matter which of the two materials you choose to work with, you must address that theme. So you need to be going through the brainstorm, making sure that you have actually thought of a boundary in your life that was figurative, so not a boundary like a wall or a door, but instead something that you had to work through or work past in order to continue on your journey of life. So once you decide on the topic that you want to address, you have a couple ways to convey that. So you can choose to create a metal foil mask. Notice that this is sculpted. It is three-dimensional. It is not a drawing on a flat sheet of metal. Or you can create an agamograph, which is two flat drawings glued onto an accordion fold to become a work of art that moves and changes depending on your angle and your point of view. Each of these, again, still convey that theme. If you choose to work on the agamograph, this is the one that I'm referring to here. In your art supply kit, you will need your practice template for your practice project. It is small like this, 2 small pictures, and then the large accordion paper that they get glued onto in alternating fashion. And for your final project, to create a larger agamograph, you will need the larger printout of the exact same thing. So 2 templates and the accordion. Yes, this will come out a little bit smaller than this model that I'm showing you here, but it's the exact same concept. Lucky for you, this one already has lines and numbers and everything on there for you already. Whereas this one here was where we just freehand drew stuff on worksheets and did our own cutting. If you are choosing to do the agamograph, you will obviously be drawing with pencil first, tracing in pen if necessary, and then adding color with colored pencil or marker. I would not recommend a wet material like paint for this project because this paper is not really the right kind of paper for that. For your other option, the metal mask, you will need to use the metal foil pieces from your art supply kit. You should have a small square, which is for your practice project, and a larger rectangle, which is for your final project. Your important tool for this project is your wooden stylus. This is the tool that will help you sculpt and create, see the variations in 3D forms here, on your mask and your practice. You will also need to use some scissors from time to time. Your Sharpie marker is your one coloring material in your art supply kit, but if you have access to colored markers, colored Sharpie markers, those will also go a long way to making your artwork look good. For each of these projects, as I mentioned, they have a practice. So if you are doing the agamograph project, you will have to make a small one to practice the concept of the agamograph and get an idea of how it works, how you can create 2 drawings, cut them up and put them back together to create 2 different images that change. So that's what your little worksheet is for, to walk you through the steps of that. If you choose to do the metal mask, you have a practice project of creating a metal coin. So not a tiny mask, but you are still practicing sculpting the metal. If you check out the back, you'll see there all the different forms that have been created in the metal. And obviously, yes, these have beautiful colored Sharpie on them, which if you don't have access to makes it a little more challenging, but still totally doable because the sculpting is what we're going for here since this is 3D art. Both of those projects are just the practice. So these are tiny little things. Different, but preparing you for the final project. So the final project, a gamma graph, is much larger than the practice. And the final project metal mask, much larger than the practice. But each of those little versions helps you get the hang of the material before you jump into the big one. So let me finish off just by showing you some more of these metal masks so you can get an idea of what that could look like. Just because I'm saying the project is a mask doesn't mean you have to make something that resembles a face. So this example shows a person has created a thought bubble. Don't think that every mask has to show a face. It could instead be an abstract representation of whatever you're trying to convey. You can use lines and shapes and pictures and colors to symbolize a concept, again, without actually looking like a face. But you can refer to that face form to help you organize your ideas, and then use colors or other images to express your concept. Of course, if you're thinking of that transformation very concretely, before the boundary and after the boundary, you can make sure to mix both. However, I normally recommend that you don't put a line right down the middle, but try to make those two things combine. So you can use colors to make your two concepts blend together and look like they belong together. You can use a whole variety of techniques with your sculpting to also show those two concepts intertwined. For your gamma graph, it's the same idea, but your pictures are definitely going to remain more separate. So if you wanted to show that you were terrible at art before and you've overcome that boundary and now you are better at art, you essentially make those two separate images as two different things, and they get put together, glued together in the process of creating your gamma graph. But you can show something more complex as well. So you can symbolize someone who is maybe depressed, doesn't want to get out of bed, versus somebody who is bold and excited to be out there in front of the world, or any of those other concepts. I think here this one is also about feeling sad and lonely, and then overcoming that, finding your creative passions to pursue in the process of doing your art. You can use symbols to show your concepts. So a bright sunshine to symbolize, in the case of the student's work, a happy family moment, versus the moon in the nighttime to symbolize a dark time in their family dynamic. Or you could just think about skills similar to art things that you've acquired. So here we have some gaming skills that this student acquired, versus before that they were only doing small scale work or childish gaming, and they grew up and developed their knowledge. So you are coming up with your concept first, and then you're picking from one of those two types of projects, whether it's a gamma graph that you're interested in, or you're interested in sculpting the metal coin and the metal mask, and then you are proceeding from there.